Dolls abound at an outdoor market, where wooden soldiers stand all in a row, and where young children dream of toys and goodies. The festivities of this holiday season are celebrated here with well-dressed snowmen, beautiful decorations, delicious food, and carnival rides that line the shopping district of this thriving downtown area. But this year, there is another dimension to Christmas in Stuttgart. It's in the form of an elfin body performing difficult skills in the sport of artistic gymnastics. Do not let her festive dances betray her fierce competitive nature. She is Danielle Silivash of Romania. Her team won the 1987 World Championships in Rotterdam just a few weeks ago. And while the Romanians dominate the women, the opposite is true for the men. This international event could hear several different anthems before the meet is through. For the U.S., the University of Minnesota's Colin Godkin muscles his way towards the gold. While on the women's side, American hopes rest on a young lady who trains in Blue Springs, Missouri, Christy Henrich. We are in Europe, the birthplace of artistic gymnastics. ESPN presents International Gymnastics from Stuttgart, West Germany. It's the 1987 DTB Cup. This telecast is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Welcome to Hans Martin Schleyer Hall in Stuttgart, West Germany. This facility was just recently completed, specifically designed for Olympic-type sports. There is a velodrome plus many other facilities here, but today it is set up for the sport of artistic gymnastics. Hello, everyone. I'm Leandra Riley, and welcome to the Deutsche Turnerbund Pokal. That translates to the German Federation Cup. Joining me in this telecast is the 1982 winner of this cup, plus 1984 U.S. Olympic gold medalist, Peter Vidmar. And Peter, we have 13 nations on hand for this cup, but everybody really has on their minds the Olympics. How does the cup fit into the Olympic picture?
Well, Leandra, this has always been one of the most prestigious gymnastics events in the world, but we have a mixture of competitors this time because we're just coming off the recent World Gymnastics Championships. Some countries chose to send their best athletes. Others chose not to, so we have a bit of a mixture.
As I said, there are 13 nations on hand. Each country was allowed to send a maximum of 2 competitors. These are the individual event finals, so we will see 6 gold medals for the men, 4 gold medals for the women. Who should we watch for?
Well, the thing about individual finals is that everybody's strengths come out, and so we might see 6 different winners for men and 4 different winners for women. You just don't know. I think, though, that we're always going to see strong performances from Silvio Kroll on the men's side from East Germany and a young Russian, Vladimir Shapachkin. The Romanian women have some very strong members here. We've got Daniela Salivas and Eugenia Galea, both members of the gold medal winning World Championship Romanian team. They always put forth strong performances.
For the United States of America, our country has elected to send just 2 individuals, Colin Godkin for the men and Christy Henrich for the women.
Colin is a very strong gymnast. He's got the 2nd highest score going into the parallel bar finals. He has a chance to win. Christy's very, very strong. We're going to see her on the uneven parallel bar finals.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see how Christy performs in terms of the medal count. When we come back, we will begin our coverage of the DTB to get 2 members in the top 6. Colin Godkin of the USA finished 16th. The scores from the all-around do carry over into these individual event finals. As you look now at Vladimir Shapachkin of the Soviet Union, his preliminary score is 9.8. That will be combined with the score that he receives for his performance right now, and it is the combined total that will determine who gets the gold medal, and in this case, in the floor exercise event. Floor exercise is our first event, Peter Vidmar. The men do not compete with music, something that some people say is going to change.
I know there's some countries that would like to see it eventually with music, but right now, you'll see that it's still very, very aesthetic. Shapachkin's very, very powerful. He's only about 5 feet tall, which is still pretty tiny for a gymnast. Of the double layout, flip-flop, backflip, punch front, and look, he goes right into his 2nd tumbling pass. He's very, very sturdy on his feet. Here comes a neat transition. This is the flares, first made popular, of course, by Kurt Thomas, now on the floor. Just the fact that he's here at this competition means that the Soviets are really grooming him, I think, for some really very important meets coming up. Very powerful tumbler. I'm really impressed with him. Lay out front, punch, dive, roll. As you can see, here comes that traditional rest part right before the last tumbling pass, so he's probably really sucking up some wind to get enough energy for a big pass. And a full in back out. Ooh, major fall. That's going to be a big deduction. Knocked his shoe right off.
Vladimir Shapashkin, again, his preliminary score was 9.8, which really was good enough for first place in the preliminary standings, tying him with another gymnast. But that fall at the end is going to cost him. It might knock him out of the gold.
Well, finals is always a time where the guys really go for it. And so, of course, the all-around was the most important part for him. This is his first tumbling pass. A double layout immediately into a flip-flop backflip. Punch front. Just incredible. And he goes right into that next tumbling pass. I'm really amazed at how much power he really has.
He landed on the line, which is okay.
It is okay. And as you can see, the judges didn't raise the little flag. There was no deduction. And going into this dismount, of course, he says, hey, let's go for it. Let's do the full twisting double back. And he kind of got around, but he opened up a little bit too soon. And that right leg just slipped right out from under him.
I don't think landing in the seam helped him at all. So Vladimir Shapashkin received a 9.525 for that routine, giving him a total of 19.325. Our next competitor is Feng Min from the People's Republic of China. Now, he is the man who tied with Shapashkin in preliminary scoring. These two men were tied for first with 9.8 coming into this event.
Now, they do similar tumbling passes, but he's much, much bigger than Shapashkin. There's a double layout, flip-flop, backflip, punch front, just like Shapashkin. There's a punch front, walk out, round off the handspring, double full, punch front 1 1/4. This really gets the crowd going. These new punch front sequences are really kind of exciting. Now, here's his press to a handstand, a required move.
What is it that is under the floor exercise mat that is enabling the 1987 gymnasts to be so powerful?
Well, they've allowed the floor to actually be thicker than it has in the past. They've got springs underneath it with the mat and then a carpet over that. And so you've got a lot of equipment under there to give you some bounce, but you still have to do most of it yourself.
So this explains why I can't do this in my living room.
That's right. Though I've tumbled on floors that feel worse than my living room floor. Here's his dismount. Round off big handspring, double layout. Very tough dismount, and he did a perfect landing.
So Feng Min capitalizes on Shapashkin's mistake. Again, his preliminary score was 9.8. He just needs something better than a 9.5 to really better Shapashkin.
Yeah, you can bet he's going to get it, too. Now, he's a lot bigger than Shapashkin. Here's his double layout. Immediately into a flip-flop backflip. You're going to see people doing double backflips out of that soon. And here's his dismount. Very, very tough at the end. Round off big handspring, double layout, and a really solid landing.
Feng Min of the People's Republic of China doing an outstanding performance, bringing in a 9.8. Now receives a 9.85 for that performance and easily wins the gold, defeating Vladimir Shapashkin of the Soviet Union. The total for Min, 19.65, 3 points ahead of Shapashkin. The final results of the men's floor exercise show China in first place, the Soviet Union capturing second, and East Germany will take third. When we come back, we will give you the results of the women's all-around competition and see the first women competitor. The two Romanians dominated the competition. Danielle Silovash getting ready to vault right now. She is 17 years of age.
And she does a round-off vault, round-off flip-flop, back stoop with a full twist. This is that new trend in vaulting that we see. And it seems that in order for a girl to do well, she almost has to do that vault. We see very little handspring fronts anymore. Here she does a round-off on the floor, flip-flop onto the horse, and a backflip with a full twist off. Very solid vault. It wasn't laid out. It wasn't really exciting as much as some of her other teammates have done.
She is from Diva, Romania, as you can see, and enjoys bicycling as a hobby. What she is doing now is changing her vault. They are categorized by numbers, and this way the judges know what to expect. So I guess you can't change your mind halfway down the runway.
That's right. They don't do that with men, but they're talking about that in the future.
Now, in the individual event finals, they will average the two scores together. So technically, it'll be 3 vaults involved in the score. We have her best vault from yesterday, and then we'll have the average of 2 vaults from today.
Now, I think this number change means she's going to do it in the laid-out position, which, of course, is much harder. Very, very good. A much better vault. A little bit of a pike on the layout, but she'll get a much higher score on that. Now watch this. The round-off fake handspring. This time she's going to lay it out. And you see her legs just bend a little bit, and she pikes down at the end, but it's still an excellent vault.
Danielle Silvash bringing in a 9.85, and a 9.876 is the average for the two. This is Silvio Kroll of East Germany getting ready to compete on the pommel horse. He was 5th in this event at the World Championships.
And he's very extended, working across the horse. This is called a spindle. Working his way back up to the middle. And here's his flare. Right up to a handstand. And down into a scissor sequence. Very, very good on horse. A lot of extension. Working down without the pommels. Right up to a handstand.
Silvio Kroll of East Germany. His preliminary score coming into this event, 9.8.
Kroll was just bursting onto the international scene when I was getting out of gymnastics competitively, and he's really gone a long ways. Always does well in the all-around at the World Championships. Very good on individual events.
Now let's go back to women's vaulting, where you are looking at Christine Wetzel of West Germany, a hometown favorite. Her preliminary score, 9.775. Again, Silvash of Romania's total is 19.726.
Now, that's a pike Sukahara. That is not a very difficult vault now. Of course, when Nadia did it, she was getting 10s, but the sport has changed so much. It's simply a very stock vault. Very, very average vault. Good landing. Now, she's probably saving, of course, her better vault for the next pass.
That vault, along with the one that she's about to perform, the two scores will be averaged together. Daniela Silvash received an average of 9.876 for her 2 vaults that you saw. And Christine Wetzel has got to hope for a better score than 9.8.
And it's going to be tough if she's going to have to make up that difference. Now, as I said, the round-off flip-flop vaults are becoming much more popular, and if a girl hasn't been able to train them, she's going to have problems. That's I guess you'd call that a kasamatsu. It's really difficult for me to describe that vault. In a way, it's either a cuervo. It depends on how she places her hands. That was basically a kasamatsu because of the staggered placing of her hands, and yet it was really difficult for me to tell.
9.782 is the average of her 2 scores, giving her a total of 19.557. She is behind Silvash with a 19.726. And now we're back over to pommel horse, where Mike Bella is getting ready to compete. He is from East Germany at the World Championships. He finished 8th.
I think in the all-around competition, he was simply the most impressive gymnast. I think he shows the most potential. Here he is moving up and back on the horse without even using the pommels. Very, very difficult. He's got very good toe point. He's a young gymnast, and he's really going to go a long ways.
His preliminary score was 9.8.
Back more down on the horse. Flare. Traveling across the horse, up on the pommels. And a full turn off. Very, very nice routine.
So Mike Bella, who brought in a 9.8 along with Silvio Kroll, is now hoping for a better score than 9.75 if he wants the gold.
I'm really impressed. He's got very good toe point. He's got good body position. And he shows it on every event. I think we're going to see a lot from him in the future. Now here's his dismount sequence. He does flares, traveling up without the pommels, then puts his hands on the pommels, and kind of wings his arm back off to the side for a little full turn dismount out of that flare.
And his score is 9.75. We now have a tie for the gold in the men's pommel horse.
Spring layout Tsukahara. Little hop back, but look how easily she made that vault.
Her preliminary score was 9.9. She is chasing her teammate, whom you saw in our last segment, who received a 19.726.
And here it is, the round off, back handspring. Great push off the horse. And the layout Tsukahara off, and she's got so much air time, she kind of takes a nice little hop back. Of course, that's a deduction. But a gymnast like Galea can really take advantage of this round off vault. She may not have the sheer power of a gymnast like Mary Lou Retton, and yet by doing this round off vault, she really adds a lot to it.
Now, Galea needs at least a 9.85 for an average to defeat her teammate. Remember, Stilovac has a 19.726 total, and if she's to beat that, Galea needs a 9.85.
And the typical pattern for a gymnast in vaulting finals is to do a more difficult vault, and so, of course, I would say that she's probably going to try this with a full twist.
Galea is coached by Lucia Marcoux. We saw him consulting with her between vaults. And she is ready now for her second vault. Again, the two vaults will be averaged together. That average plus yesterday's score will be totaled to determine the winner in this event.
And with a full twist, excellent vault. Took that hop, but that's going to be probably the vault of the night. That was a great, great exercise.
Was it better than 9.85, the average of the two?
We'll have to see. Here's the round-off entry again. A flip-flop. Good repulsion right there off the horse and goes right into the twist. She makes it so easily, has a lot of air time.
And there's her score, 9.88. So she, right now, is in first place in the women's vaulting competition here at the DTB Cup. Eugenia Galea, 18-year-old from Bucharest. And now let's move over to the men's pommel horse competition, where Vladimir Shapashkin of the Soviet Union is ready to compete. His preliminary score, 9.7. He needs a 9.95 to beat the two East Germans, Bella and Kroll.
No, I wouldn't really say that pommel horse is Shapashkin's best event, but he just gets the job done. He's very, very powerful. Works up on one pommel, moving across the horse. A lot of single pommel work there. Back more, back more, back more on one pommel. Here's his flare. Takes it up to a handstand. And back into a scissor sequence. That's a little bit awkward. Now he sets up for his dismount. You don't have to do as many scissors as you used to in competition because the judges realize it's just kind of a filler skill. A lot of single pommel work there at the end before his dismount.
Now, you just told me something I didn't know. Really, the scissors work is filler. But that, to me, looked very difficult.
No, it really isn't the most difficult skills. You can make it look exceptional. Now, here's that kind of an awkward flare sequence. He goes up to the handstand, kind of stops up there. You're technically really not supposed to stop. But he's very tough, and he really hits his routine. Here's his dismount again. This is his flare up to a handstand. Now the gymnasts don't just go to a handstand. They like to do some sort of a little turn. And that's pretty hard to do, actually, a full turn from that flare.
9.7 was his preliminary score, and 9.7 is today's score. His total, 19.4, way off the pace of the leaders, Bella and Kroll of East Germany. Now let's swing back to women's vaulting competition. This is Wang Xiaoyang of China. Preliminary score, 9.8.
Now, for some reason, Chinese gymnasts haven't really been very, very powerful on vault. But they have improved. And she does a Tsukahara with a full turn. She kind of tucked her knees in just a little bit too soon, but it was still a pretty good vault. Watch her knees. She hits the board, and instead of letting her heels come up to give her some extra lift, she kind of tucks them in a little bit too soon in that twist.
Now, her average has to be 9.95. That means it pretty much has to be a perfect vault.
Yeah, it really does. And that hop, of course, will just give it away right there. That's at least a tenth of a point.
And when I say it has to be a 9.95, I'm, of course, referring to the gold medal, which is at stake. The score that she wants to beat belongs to Eugenia Galea of Romania. 19.782 is Galea's total score.
Now, Leander, we talked about the round-off vault. They're trying to figure out a way to allow men to do the round-off vault. It's difficult because their horse is placed the other way.
Right.
And so they're talking about building an entirely new vaulting surface for them to vault off of.
Just for the men?
Just for the men, but it might be for the women also.
If they were to redesign the horse, as you suspect they will, when would this change take place?
It might take place as soon as 1989, right after the Olympics. Here's a layout Souk full, and she stuck the landing. That's a much better vault. She kind of piked in at the end. I noticed something with her hand. Watch in slow motion. She kind of takes her hand to kind of pull that pike in instead of leaving it free. Here's the layout Tsukahara, full twist, and watch that one hand come down, and it pulls in on her right leg.
Wang Xiaoyang receiving a 9.8 in the preliminary scores. It's a 9.819 for a total of 19.6. And now let's join in progress Shaba Faikush of Hungary.
Now, Shaba isn't necessarily the prettiest pommel horse worker, but he's really tough. He just kind of makes it through his routines, always gets good, consistent scores. There's his dismount of Flairdo handstand.
9.7 was his preliminary score. That'll be combined with the score they give him for the routine that you just saw.
Here's the flares. Very good flares. Traveling down to the end of the horse. Now, flare has become such a stock skill. About 50% of routines now you see are done in flare.
Shaba Faikush receives a 9.775, giving him a total of 19.475. So he does overtake Vladimir Shapachkin. The results for women's vaulting competition show Eugenia Golea receiving the gold medal. Daniela Silvas takes the silver. On the pommel horse, Mike Bella and Sylvia Kroll tie for first place. Athletes have now rotated from the pommel horse and vaulting to rings for the men and unevens for the women. This is Andreas Aguilar of Hanover, West Germany.
Aguilar is very, very powerful. Always does a solid job in his ring routines. There's a back roll to a cross. Kip L.
Aguilar was fifth at the 1987 World Championships in this event.
There's his planche press. Giant. Giant to a handstand. Now, this is a neat trick. It goes from a planche through a Maltese down to a back lever and bounce to a cross. Sometimes we call that the elevator. Front uprise to an L. He's very, very solid. He should get a good score, and the crowd is really pulling for him. Giant dislocate. Half in, half out. Took a little hop, but that's a good solid routine.
A fine performance by Aguilar, four-time German national champion on the rings event.
It's always nice competing in your home country. Giant dislocate. Here's his dismount. It's a tucked half and half out. Really not a very difficult dismount. And he takes a little bit of a hop.
9.75. Sorry, 9.75 was his preliminary score, and there you see 9.875 for his finals combined for a 19.750. Now let's go over to the unevens, where Daniel Silivas, the 17-year-old from Diva, Romania, is getting ready to perform.
Romania was really a big surprise at the World Championships when they pulled off that gold medal, and she's a real stalwart from the team. Right over the low bar, kip to a handstand. Stalder, full turn, giant, and a Delchev right down to the low bar, kip to handstand. There's another Stalder with a half turn, drop kip, shoots through, up to the high bar again. Now it's required. They have to go down to the low bar at least twice in the routine. There's a reverse hecht, called a Tkachev, and she's getting ready for a dismount now. Giant free hip, front with a half. Very solid routine.
Her preliminary score was 9.8. And I think the scores she'll get for that routine will be just as good, if not better.
And here's a Stalder with a full turn right over the top into a giant. Used to be the giant was the big trick. Now they've got to do a lot more. And here's that Delchev right down to the low bar.
These are two required moves on the low bar.
That's right. It's become so much like horizontal bar that now the judges have said, look, you've got to do a little bit more down that bottom bar. You can't just do a men's high bar routine. Here's the free hip, front with a half, kick out. Very good dismount, nice and solid.
Daniela Silivas of Romania. She almost got hit by one of the cameramen. That wouldn't have been funny if he would have hit her. 9.863 the score, the total 19.663. She is our leader right now on the uneven parallel bars. Let's go back to the rings where Stuttgart's very own Jürgen Brummer is ready to perform. 23 years of age.
You think of all the crazy tricks that we do out there and to get knocked off by a camera, boy. Brummer's also very strong in the rings. Of course, he's got the crowd behind him. Kip to an L. Not a very difficult mount. Press up to a handstand. Notice how his arms are nice and free from the straps of the rings. That's very difficult to do. Back giant. And here's an inverted cross. Much, much harder than the regular iron cross. And a back giant right to an inverted cross. It's very, very difficult. Front up rise to an L. This is called a hollow back press to a handstand. Giant dislocate. And a double layout dismount. A little bit of a step, but still it was a solid routine.
Little break in the knees, too, on the layout.
That's right.
I noticed that the scores are starting to climb as we look at Franz Heinlein, his coach. The preliminary scores are lower than these final scores.
Especially when you get the crowd behind you and you're the hometown favorite. There's a double layout. Does bend his knees at the end and takes that step.
9.65 the preliminary score. Combine that with a 9.825 gives him a total of 19.475. And now it's back to the uneven parallel bars where East Germany's Martina Jentsch. She is from Dresden.
Now look at this mount. A round-off backflip taken from vaulting, I guess. There's a kip to a handstand. Pirouette.
Now,
there's a Jaeger front flip.
Jentsch is tall for a gymnast, as we just saw her toe hit. She's 5 feet 2 inches tall. For an artistic gymnast, that's on the long side.
It is tall. She had some problems there on the low bar on that full pirouette after that free hip circle. Here's a kip. Cast to a handstand. Here's her giants. Free hip front with a half. A little bit of a shaky routine. Not quite as good as her routine in the preliminaries.
9.875 the score in the preliminaries for Jentsch. At the World Championship, she was 7th in this event.
And here's that round-off backflip, kind of like vaulting. Coach has to really pull that board away right away, though. She's going to really bang her heels. And here's this free hip full turn. She gets in some trouble. She isn't quite on top of that handstand. Has to pike down soon.
And the score for Martina Jentsch, 9.88, giving her a 19.763 total. We'll be back with Christy Hinrich of the USA. And you are looking at Christy Hinrich from the USA.
Here's a kip on the high bar. Cast handstand pirouette. There's a reverse hecht, very high. This is certainly one of Christy's best events. Toe on, toe off. Shoot through. Kip to a handstand. There's a beautiful giant. Very quick. And a toe on, front with a half. It's a very solid routine. It didn't have quite as much difficulty, especially coming out of those giants, where a lot of gymnasts now are doing full turns over the top, and yet she was very solid in that routine.
Christy Hinrich is 4 feet 9 inches tall, which might help her giant situation.
You bet. There's that reverse hecht, very high over the bars. Probably the best I've seen tonight.
Christy is a sophomore and received a score of 9.738, giving her a total of 19.438. Her preliminary score was 9.7, so 19.438 the total for Christy Hinrich. Now it's back to the rings where Vladimir Shapachkin has just mounted.
Now, Shapachkin is very, very powerful on the rings. Pulls through an inverted position. That's called a Yamawaki after a gymnast who did it in the Olympic Games in 1984.
The man to beat.
Inverted cross.
The man to beat is Aguilar. Shapachkin needs a 9.75 to tie him.
And if he saw it, he could get it. He got a very good preliminary score. Iron cross, pull out. Planche press. He's very strong in that planche position, and he uses it not only in rings, but on a lot of the other events. Giant to a handstand. Giant dislocate. And a pike tap and F out. Little hop at the end, but very powerful dismount.
9.9 was his preliminary score. And I've just been told that his score is 9.85, giving him a total of 19.75.
Now, I'm really impressed when I see a more difficult dismount done on the rings, because most gymnasts lately have been doing the double layout because he gets full D credit. This is much more difficult, and it's really refreshing to see a difficult dismount like that.
Shapachkin's score holds up, and that gives him the gold medal, 19.75. Now back to the unevens, where this is Dagmar Kirsten. She is from Cottbus, Germany.
Now it's on the high bar. Kip, cast, hop to a Jaeger. That's a front flip done by one of her male compatriots a few years ago. And a reverse hex. Shoots you down to the low bar. There's that required part going back down to the low bar. They don't stay on there very long, though.
This event is resembling the high bar more and more.
More and more, absolutely. There's two giants and a toe-on pike front with a half turn. Very good dismount.
And Dagmar Kirsten needs a 9.89 to beat her teammate Martina Jentz in this event. Her preliminary score is 9.875. If she does 9.89 or better, she'll take the gold.
And here's the giant. Toe-on pike front with a half turn for that dismount. And she really digs her heels in to stick that. Takes a little bit of a hop.
Fine landing. Her score, 9.913. She gets the gold medal with a total of 19.788. Peter headed downstairs and spoke with the USA's Christy Henrich.
And with Christy Henrich, Christy, you had a very good routine on the uneven bars, especially the landing. You really hit that cold. Now, what did you feel about the routine as a whole?
I think I could have had a better mount because I hit my foot on the low bar. And, but other than that, I was real solid.
That was good. Now, coming into this competition, you just finished the Swiss Cup, which was a meet just a few days ago. So you've really been on the road running around. You had a good competition. You were third all around. How do you feel staying in Europe so much and getting all this competition?
I think it's very good getting people to know who I am and my name and all. But I wish I could have placed a little higher in this meet so people would know me a little better. But I did very well.
You did. You've got many years ahead of you. Now, going into 1988, what is your game plan for your training?
My game plan this year, next semester I won't be going to school. I will be tutored, and I will be having 3 workouts a day for the Olympics.
That's important. Now, you know you're making a lot of sacrifices, and
yes.
people need to realize the type of effort that you people put forth. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and very good routine.
Thank you.
Christy Henrich, the sophomore in high school, taking some time off. The results of the women's uneven parallel bars. East Germany taking first and second. On the men's ring competition, Shapachkin of the Soviet Union gets the gold, while West Germany's Aguilar takes the silver. If you cannot be home for Christmas, let me recommend Germany, specifically Stuttgart. Gottlieb Daimler of Stuttgart invented the internal combustion automobile back in 1885. Automobile production has been centered here ever since. The old and new mesh hand in hand here in Stuttgart. Modern shopping districts abound in this city located in southwestern Germany. Swabians are what native Stuttgarters are called. They speak a sing-song type of German that some northerners claim they cannot understand. But food is a universal language, and when its delicious aroma permeates a crisp winter day, well, everyone, Swabian or not, has reason to smile. Hey, that guy's not from Germany. That's Peter Vidmar. He's taking, or should I say tasting, a little break. Today's rain will be turning to snow very shortly, but this weather does not dampen the spirits of these shoppers, for it is Christmas time, and the outdoor hutches are filled with dolls, ornaments, and gifts that would tempt anyone to park with the Deutschmark. But it's the food that seems to make the shopping more enjoyable. Bratwurst, fresh vegetables, and pastries are some of the fare on hand. And, well, here's Peter with a soft pretzel. Leave it to Peter to come to Germany and eat pretzels. The children are not interested in the food. In fact, the children of Stuttgart love to go shopping because there are rides, just like a carnival, located downtown, rides that are open year-round. The noise of toy trains, the kinds that kids can actually ride, fill the air for a different sound at Christmas time. Joining me now is Klaus and Alexander Becker, and I'm going to ask them in German what they want for Christmas. Was möchtest du für Weihnachten?
Also, ich wünsche mir Reitzubehör und 4 weitere Bände von Bille und Toddel, die Lego-Burg und ein Teamritter.
Lots of things. And Klaus?
Ich wünsche mir Reitzubehör und dann noch viel Lego.
That's all?
Und noch viel Auto.
That is good. Merry Christmas. A unique delight for the German gourmet is to stop at a sausage shop and order a meat pastry pie. Somehow I knew it would just be a matter of time before Peter ingested some of this delicacy. Frankly, I didn't know he had such a large appetite. How does he manage to keep his weight down? This is the diet of an Olympic gold medalist. Has some bratwurst quick. It's time for me to weave my way through the crowd and enjoy some of the holiday decorations. As you can see, I have finally caught up with Peter, and you have been eating your way through Stuttgart. Tell me about the food.
Well, I sampled the bratwurst, and that was nice and spicy. I had some pretzels. They were great, just as good as New York. I had something that I really couldn't identify. We won't talk about that, but I've concluded that still my favorite food in Germany is German chocolate.
Ah, looks quite tasty. But, Peter, you missed it all. When in Germany, one must do as the Germans do. Now, outside on a chilly December day, hot wine is nice. But I'll take a Hofbrau, please. How much do I owe you? Okay. Hot wine, Hofbrau. When in Germany, do as the Germans do.
Boy, a hot wine and a Hofbrau, Leandra. I'm glad I drove home.
So am I, because I enjoyed every drop. When we come back, we will continue with our coverage of the 1980 Silivas of Romania. 4 feet 5 inches tall, just 62 pounds. She brings a preliminary score of 9.8 with her into this event.
I'm continually amazed at the level of difficulty in balancing. It's just getting tougher and tougher.
Well, in the 1984 Olympics, we really saw a lot of tumbling on the balance beam, and now there seems to be a little bit more of a move back to the dancing element.
There really is, and they've made that a requirement because the girls realize they're getting a lot of credit for these tumbling skills. The back handspring back layout is very, very difficult, and they're doing so many of those skills that they were kind of getting away from some of the dance elements. So now they've made some specific requirements with dance.
Her 9.8 preliminary score actually had her in a three-way tie for first place. So we're about to see some very tough balance beam performances.
2 leaps. A full turn. That's one of those dance elements. You'll see a lot of full turns on beam.
But you don't see the double turns.
No, and they don't want to take the chance. They'd rather wow the crowd. Another back handspring walk out, back layout, step out. Split leap, little bobble. Very sturdy, though.
That seems to be what separates the United States from the Eastern Bloc nations. The balance beam, solidness on the beam.
And a double back flip. Well, in the past, of course, I think some of the girls were doing a lot more dance, and that helps. I think that's one area that the women are particularly strong in our country, is they try to include more dance on beam. And here's your dismount. 2 back handsprings right into a double back flip. Now, that's really tough when you're punching out of that double back flip. Some girls do a stepping motion into it, and your toes have to be right on that beam.
9.8 the preliminary, 9.825. That routine score, 19.625, the score for Danielle Silivas. This is Jürgen Brummer of Stuttgart. The men will execute 2 vaults. This is his first.
And that's basically a laid-out Cuervo vault. He tucked in at the very end, but he tried to lay it out. It's a very tough vault. A little bit piked. Now what he does a handspring, half turn into a back flip. He kind of tucks in at the end, but a strong landing. Takes a lot of heel drive. Now notice that horse. You see that little mushroom-type top on it? That's springs. The new vaulting horses have springs underneath them, just like the floor.
Now, you said earlier in this telecast that there will be or might be a change in the vaulting apparatus for men and then possibly for women. How would it change? We see that long horse that the men vault over vertically. How will the matter change?
Well, I think the horse won't be as long, and then it'll be wider, so that in placing the hands, for example, on a round-off vault, they'll be able to do that like the women do. But one thing they have to be careful is that they have to make sure that that fits into the basic base of a horse, so that people throughout the world don't have to run out and buy whole new vaulting horses. That becomes very expensive. And it's a layout Tsukahara, not quite as difficult now. in judging. Took a little bit of a hop and a step at the end.
We should add that the men are not allowed to do the handspring vault that we saw the women do because the horse is facing the other way.
That's right, that's right. And here's a layout Suk again. And takes that hop. That will not get as high a score as his first vault.
You're right, he didn't. 9.55. His preliminary score was 9.7. You saw his total, 19.25. Now let's go back to the balance beam. So a young lady's been competing since the age of 7, Eugenia Golea. And this is her favorite event.
And she's beautiful on balance beam. Her moves are so deliberate. Quick turns, good tumbling elements. Back handspring, back layout, excellent.
It shows that she's been in this sport for 11 years.
I don't mean to repeat myself, but look at her moves, how deliberate she is. Every trick is just right into the movement. She doesn't hesitate in any way.
Interesting combination.
Back handspring, step out, back layout, landing with legs together.
You'd never know that she's 4 feet off the ground on a wooden beam that's 4 inches wide.
I'm glad men don't have to do that.
I'm glad broadcasters don't.
She's right on this routine. I really see no mistakes. Just little things here and there. This is one reason why the remaining women won the world championships in the team competition. They were very solid in this event. 3 back handsprings into a layout double full. Very, very tough dismount.
Eugenia Golea competing on what is obviously her favorite event, the balance beam.
Now this is one of her most difficult tumbling passes. It's a back handspring, back layout, back layout. Looks like her hand touched the beam a little bit. Now here's her dismount sequence. Back handspring, step out, back handspring, step out, back handspring, step out, layout, double turn. She's got to be right on every one of those skills.
Now, she was tied with her teammate with a 9.8 going in. She needed a 9.825 to beat her, and she gets it, 9.875. Golea's our leader, but we'll have more balance beam competition after these important messages. 37 world champion in this event.
He's always been powerful on vault. There's a laid-out Cuervo. Kind of a low landing, took a little hop forward, but his body stayed stretched till the very end, and that's tough.
His preliminary score is 9.6. He needs a 9.65 average to take the lead.
Now, this is a Cuervo vault named after a Cuban gymnast, Cuervo. Here is a handspring with a half turn, laid out backflip, low landing, almost touches his hands down there, and I wonder if he didn't touch. Let's take a look at his hands again.
What's the deduction for touching?
Well, it can be up to 0.5 of a point. Oh, it looks like he touched his hands.
Silvio Kroll has been in gymnastics for 15 years. He is 22 years old.
Now, the second vault has to be a different family, so he has to do, for example, a layout Sukahara, a round-off entry vault, something like that.
The man he wants to beat is Jürgen Brummer. Brummer of Stuttgart, Kroll from East Germany.
Oh,
Nice.
and a handspring front with a 1.5 twist. Very, very difficult. Took a step, but that's a much more difficult vault.
He needs a 9.65 to overtake Brummer.
Here's the handspring. Front with a 1.5 twist. Zeroes in on the landing, and that's really not that bad. Sure, he took a step, but he's really spinning there.
And the score is 9.68. So he is our leader, Silvio Kroll, claiming the gold in the vaulting competition. Now let's go back to the balance beam where a young lady from Czechoslovakia, Iveta Polakova, is competing.
Now she punches right to a handstand as a walkover. Here's 2 leaps. Setting up for another tumbling pass. Now that's a different pass. That's a front flip with a half twist. We call that a Barani. And that's not easy to do on the beam. You have to really be aggressive there. She can't hold back. Back handspring, back layout. Very solid. And we talked about the dance maneuvers. You'll usually see a leap or a full turn, and that's required on beam to do some sort of a dance skill.
Yvette's preliminary score was 9.6.
And a round off, double back flip, steps into that double back, didn't punch like a normal round off. That's very difficult. There's a lot of power in the legs.
She is virtually out of the running for a gold medal and actually would need more than a 10 to overtake the leader.
Now here's that front flip with a half turn. We call it a Barani. She looks at the beam the whole time, takes a little bobble, but that's a tough skill.
Her score, 9.713, giving her a total of 19.313. Now let's head back over to vaulting, where Young Hoon Park, 22 years of age, is ready to compete. He's a 1984 Olympian for the Korean team.
And he's very powerful in vaulting. There's basically a laid-out quiver. He'd pike a little bit coming in.
Now, he has a preliminary score of 9.55. He'd have to do better than about 9.75 to have any shot at a medal.
And it's going to be tough. You know, the Cuervo is probably one of the easier, superior difficulty vaults, and that's why you see so many of them now. The handspring, half turn. It's basically an open pike Cuervo. Took a couple hops, too. That's not going to be good enough to overtake Kroll.
Usually we're used to seeing men gymnasts compete just one vault, but in individual event finals, they use both vaults and average the scores together.
That's right. I'd like to see them use both vaults in the all-around competition and preliminaries as well. I think it would add a little bit more flavor and variety to the event, because sometimes it's just a one-shot deal. Second vault. Now that is a laid-out Cuervo. The first one was pike. He may get a deduction because it's simply the same family of vault.
9.55, the preliminary score.
Sometimes you're training so hard in the all-around that you don't really spend the time to learn a second vault. And this is a much better vault than the first one. I'm sure that's the one that he uses, of course, on a regular basis.
There you see his new score, 9.675, giving him a total of 19.225. And it's time now to go back to the balance beam for a popular young lady here in Stuttgart. She is from Wolfsburg. She's 19 years of age. Her name is Anja Wilhelm. Now to take the lead, she needs a 9.875. And for this young lady, it's within her reach.
And she goes right into it. Cartwheel, back handspring, back layout, right off the board.
Wilhelm is 5 feet 1 inches tall. Contrast that to Silovash, who's 4 feet 5 inches tall. That's a 6-inch swing. And on the balance beam, that's a good swing.
And you can bet that it'd be a lot tougher for her to do 4 back handsprings on the beam that many of the smaller girls can do.
But in her favor, she has the ability to look longer on the beam. She has better dance lines. And it takes her just 1 or 2 tumbling moves to get to the end, which looks like a lot of amplitude.
That's right. Some aerial cartwheels. And she's right on, and this is great because the crowd is really behind her. Now, doing a lot of tumbling skills, as we said, it will be harder for her if she's tall. The trend really on beam is to do as many as 3 tumbling skills in a row. They're required to do a series of at least 2 tumbling skills.
If you watched the 1984 Olympics, this lady was there. She finished 8th in the balance beam event.
Very, very nice dismount sequence.
9.8 for preliminary score. She needs a 9.875 if she's going to claim the gold medal.
And here's that mount. She hits the board. There's a cartwheel. Back handspring step out. Back layout step out right at the very beginning.
Listen to the crowd. Listen to that crowd.
Oh, they love it. This is about as excited as they've been. And here's her dismount. Front flip right into 2 back handsprings into a layout double twist. And she sticks the landing.
19-year-old Anja Wilhelm of Wolfsburg, West Germany. And her score is 9.925. This lady has gotten herself a gold medal. So the hometown fans will not go home disappointed. Anja Wilhelm the gold, while the Romanians claim the silver and the bronze. In the men's vaulting competition, Silvio Kroll of East Germany took the gold, while West Germany's Jürgen Brummer took the silver. Park of Korea took the bronze. As far as the women are on their final event, the floor exercise. But here's the man from the United States, Colin Godkin. He competes for the University of Minnesota, and this is his second year on the national team.
Colin did a great job in the preliminaries. As you can see, scored a 9.7. A little bit off on that peach basket straddle cut.
Colin's preliminary score was 9.7.
And here's a Diamidov 1 1/4. Swing down up to a V press. Didn't hold the press. A little bit off from what he was in yesterday, as I said. Pirouette in. There's a Stutz. Front uprise. Oh, he's really having a off night there. Healy twirl, back stitch. That's a very difficult combination. And a double back dismount. And a big step. Not quite the routine that he did in preliminaries. As you can see, he's holding his wrist. I talked to him earlier. He does have a very, very bad wrist. It's been getting worse on his trip the last couple of weeks. Here's his double back dismount. And a big step forward. Under rotated.
A tough break for the 22-year-old young man from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 9.5 was the score he received for that routine. 19.2 is total. This is Mike Bell of East Germany. His preliminary score was 9.85.
And look at this. A giant into a double back over the bars, right into a front uprise. You can see why he's wearing those pads on his arm, because of that landing on the bars. There's a Stutz. This is a very tough routine, very original performance. And now a giant front uprise into a straddle planche. Here he is on the end of the bars. You don't see that very often. That's called a mana. And a double front. Nice landing.
Mike Bell of East Germany bringing in a preliminary score of 9.85 to do just as good, if not better, with this routine.
Now here's that first part that Bell does. Glide, straddle up to a handstand. A very fast giant, right over the top. He get enough speed to do this 1.5 backflips right in the middle of the bars. Had a little trouble catching the bars there, but it's a very difficult skill. And here's a really nice dismount. His double front and lands perfectly. He's a rising star on their team.
His score of 9.8, so he is our leader with a score of 19.65. A name to remember for the '88 Olympics. And now let's go back to the hometown favorite, Anja Wilhelm. She is competing now in the floor exercise, having claimed her gold medal on the balance beam. Her preliminary score in this event is 9.8.
You know, when you're off to a good start or when you had a great previous competition, it really keeps you on a high for that last routine, and it helps to take some of the pressure off, too. And usually you see better performances when something like that happens.
It also helps to get the crowd behind you. Of course, she already had the crowd behind her because she's from West Germany.
That's for sure.
But they're really watching for her now after that outstanding balance beam performance.
I'm impressed with the arena. They've sold out just about every session of this competition.
Anja Wilhelm, Bundesrepublik Deutschland. Vornote 9,8.
Tumbling run. Ground off back handspring. Pull in, back out. Perfect landing. Boy, she's got to be feeling good now. Here's her next tumbling pass. Ground off back handspring. Lay out with a triple twist. Of course, quite a bit of dance required in floor, and there was a double turn. She kind of dropped her heel towards the end of that. Now, they have to do one series in their floor routine where they actually kind of cover a large area of the floor. That's, you see her circling around the floor at that point. Round off, Arabian front, round off back handspring, lay out, double twist.
Going into this routine, Wilhelm is in a three-way tie for second. So she really must perform her heart out, and I think she did.
It was probably one of her best performances that I've seen her do.
Anja Wilhelm bringing in a preliminary score of 9.8. And she should get all of that plus more after that routine.
Now here's her round-off Arabian front walkout, round-off against double fold. That's a required element, not that specific move, but they have to do at least one pass that involves two separate saltos.
So the 19-year-old from Wolfsburg, West Germany, is waiting to improve on her 9.8 preliminary score, and she does with a 9.863, giving her a total of 19.663. We're going to take a timeout, but when we come, the Romanians with 3 to defeat Anja Wilhelm of Germany. At the World Championships, Silivas placed first in floor exercise. This is her event.
And she can tumble. There's a layout full-end pike with a perfect landing. Excellent dance. We're looking at the world champion floor exercise. And this is different music that she used in the World Championships just a couple months ago. The round off big handspring, layout double fall, punch front, hop into a tumbling pass, just like Shapashkin of the Soviet Union. This is kind of a new trend on floor exercise where you see them doing one tumbling pass right into another, coming back the same way.
Her preliminary score was 9.9.
She's really polished. And now for her last tumbling pass. Double backflip. One step. She'll have no problem getting a good score there.
The 17-year-old from Viva, Romania, Danielle Silivas. Again, she needs a 9.763.
Now here's her second tumbling pass. It's a round off back handspring, layout, double full, punch front flip, and then she hops right into another tumbling pass. This is kind of a new trend that we're seeing not only in women's gymnastics, but in men's also. And here's her dismount. It's a round off back handspring, double back flip, and she takes a step on the end, so that's probably really her only tumbling deduction in this performance. One thing that I've noticed, though, is that she has the ability to put out the big scores. She scored a 10-0 in compulsory, a 10-0 in the team optionals, and a 10-0 in the finals on floor exercise to win that gold medal. She was absolutely perfect.
That was at the World Championships just a few weeks ago, and actually that was with a different routine. She's changed it somewhat. It's a little bit more watered down.
Yeah, she's doing some easier tumbling passes than she did, so she may not get the 10-0.
Easier. Her preliminary score was 9.9. Who are we to say watered down? As she gestures to the little handheld video camera there, I believe. She's going to be in somebody's home movies.
Well, the remaining women actually did a first in women's gymnastics. They scored back-to-back-to-back 10s in the team competition. 3 girls scored 10-0 right in a row at the World Championships.
That's a statement. The 88 Olympics might belong to Romania. There's her score. She received a 9.9 in prelim, a 9.938 for the performance you just saw, giving her a total of 19.838. Silivas is our leader. And as she is congratulated by her competitors, we will move over to the parallel bars where Nikisar Pashu is ready to compete. He, too, is from Romania.
Pashu is a very talented gymnast. Here's a peach straddle cut to an L.
In the men's parallel bar competition, one gymnast had a 9.85. The other 5 qualifiers for the finals had 9.7s. He's one of the 9.7s.
There were 2 Healy twirls in a row. Diaminoff, very solid routine. Stutz to a handstand. Another Stutz. And a double back. One step. Very, very solid performance. And wait till you see him on horizontal bar coming up. There's his Diamidov and his Stutz. Very solid on the bars. And he's a tall gymnast. Another Stutz. And his dismount is a double back flip. Takes a little step, though. That's going to be deduction.
He needs a 9.95 to overtake Mike Bell for the gold medal. His preliminary score, Pashu's, that is, was 9.7.
And he certainly won't get a 9.95 with that step on the dismount even.
He seems pleased with his performance, though.
That was very, very solid. Very, very good. You know, in the preliminaries, he scored a 10-0 on horizontal bar, so he's probably really getting fired up for one big performance later.
As we look at his teammate, Daniela Silivas. And now the score for Nikosur Pashu on the parallel bars, 9.725, giving him a total of 19.425. And that should be good enough for the bronze medal. Now let's go back to the women's floor exercise competition, where we have yet another Romanian gymnast on tap. This time it is Eugenia Golea. Eugenia Golea is 18 years of age. Brings a preliminary score of 9.8 with her for this routine.
And she really can twist.
She needs more than a 10, though, to catch her teammate, Silivas.
And here's a layout full-in pike. Landed just as well as her teammates. Very, very good on the floor. One thing that I've noticed about the Romanian women is that they've kind of changed their dance a little bit over the last couple of years. They're much more polished than they have been in the past. More deliberate in their movements. Not so much of the little robotic, cutesy stuff that you used to see. Now this has kind of got a nice swinging beat to it. Round off back handspring. Layout 1.5 twist step out. Round off back handspring. Double full. Punch front. Head spring right into another tumbling pass. There's that trend we're seeing. Excellent. Little stumble as she dropped back on her heel in that turn. She must have a lot of steam if she's going to dismount with a triple twist. She did this in the preliminaries. Layout, 3 twists. Big step, but that's an excellent tumbling pass. Very, very difficult to do at the end.
A 3 twisting finish for Eugenia Golea. Dancing to the big band sound.
And here's her round off back handspring, layout 1.5 twist step out into a round off back handspring double full, and she doesn't stop there. She does a punch front right into another tumbling pass. A head spring step out, round off back handspring, layout, oops, another flip flop, layout double full. That's a lot of tumbling.
She needs a 9.863 to get the silver.
Now here's her dismount. Very tough at the end. A layout with 3 twists. 1, 2, 3. Little over rotation. Has to take a big step back.
9.86 is what she's looking for. She can't overtake her teammate. She'd need more than a 10 for the gold, but she could get a 9.86 for the silver. And these are tense moments for her, because right now the silver is held by Anja Wilhelm of Germany. And the Romanians love to go gold-silver when they compete. She does not get the silver. Instead of a 9.86, she gets a 9.83. Her total, 19.638. That'll bump her down to the bronze medal, and the crowd's whistling a little bit. Now let's go back to the men's parallel bars competition, where Shaba Faikush is ready to perform. He's one of 5, mired at 9.7, coming into the finals.
As we saw him on pommel or spike, she's a very strong and powerful gymnast. Maybe not as graceful as some of the other competitors, but very, very powerful. He gets the job done. A nice Healy twirl into another Healy twirl, front toss, straddle cut L. Very solid and powerful. Parallel bars is certainly one of his better events. Presto handstand, old pirouette, situated himself a little bit better on the bars.
A lot of people forget that at the '84 Olympics, he finished 4th in the parallel bars competition, but couldn't get into the finals because there were 2 Americans ahead of him.
That's right. Bart Connor and Mitch Giller were both ahead of me there. And double pike. Very, very good dismount. Good routine. That should score well. And here's that first mount. Glide. Giant front uprise. Heely twirl, heely twirl. Very, very tough to do. Right into a front toss.
He needs better than a 9.7 to at least get the bronze medal at
There's
this
that
point.
double pike. Very good landing.
Better than 9.8 would get him the gold medal. And his score is 9.775, giving him a total of 19.475. So the silver medal belongs to Csaba Fejkus of Hungary. So the East Germans pick up another gold medal from Mike Bell, followed by Hungary and Romania. That's the men's parallel bars competition. On the floor exercise side, it's Romania, West Germany, and Romania. Men's horizontal bars next. He claimed a gold medal in the horizontal bar, but what makes it significant, Peter Vidmar, is that was your first 10 of your life. Right now we're looking at Csaba Fejkus of Hungary.
I'll tell you, it was a big thrill.
At the 1987 American Cup, Fejkus finished 3rd in the high bar.
Now, you've seen a lot of gymnasts do one-arm skills and one-arm release skills. Fejkus does a very interesting skill. One-arm giant, one-arm flyaway half, catches it with one arm. That's just incredible. But his coach grabbed him there. That's a deduction. Here's a very high Jaeger salto. He's really going up there. And a double twist and double back flip.
What a
Perfect landing.
routine. That was beautiful by Csaba Fejkus. A 9.9 preliminary score. Unfortunately, as you said, his coach did touch him. How much will that cost him?
You know, it really depends on the competition. Of course, sometimes they're going to take a lot off, but you just never know. Sometimes they don't even see it. It looked fairly obvious to me, though. Now, here's this trick. It's really incredible. A one-arm flyaway with a half turn, and instead of catching it with 2 hands, he just catches it with one arm. Coming right down, and look at, oh, the coach looked like he caught him just a little bit. Now here's that dismount. It's a double twisting, double back flip. And he had a great landing on it. Back with a full, back with a full. Right out of the picture, but it was a perfect landing.
$9.9. He repeats the score that he received from the preliminaries, giving him a total of 19.8. He is now the man to beat. But the man who follows him from Romania, Nikifor Pashu, brings a perfect score of 10 with him from the preliminary round.
And there's a reason for that. He does a one-armed flyaway with a 1.5 twist, and he does it extremely well. This is the first time I've ever seen this trick performed.
Is it more difficult than the one-arm maneuver we just saw?
Well, you know, it's really hard to say. I think what's nice about it is that there's a certain way that he does it. It's just really beautiful. It's coming right up now. Layout, 1.5 twisting flyaway. And he caught it just by his fingertips, it looked like. Now, he's not done. He's going to do another release trick that's extremely tough. First, a one-arm giant sequence. And a front with a full turn. Boy, he's just barely catching that. But it looks nice when you catch it that open. And his dismount also is a double twisting, double back flip. What a routine. That could be a 10, but you saw that little tiny step at the end, and you just don't know if the judges are going to give it to him or not.
A perfect 10 going in. He needs a 9.8 to tie Fejkus. A 9.85 would beat him.
That's got to be one of the finest performances I've ever seen on any event. Here's that trick again. A layout, flyaway, 1.5 twist from one arm. Well, when you miss that bar and something like that, you don't know what hits you when you hit the ground. And here's that front layout with a 1.5 twist. Here's that one-arm giant sequence. Takes a couple wind-up giants. And a layout with a full turn. He barely gets around to catch it again. He can see his coach leaping back just in case he missed the bar. Now here's that dismount. It's a double twisting, double back flip. It's a back flip with a full twist, and then a back flip with a full twist before he hits the ground.
And the applause is because the crowd is getting impatient for his score.
Look at that tiny little hop there. You just don't know. That's the only place that I can see you can deduct in that routine.
You can't deduct that much.
Oh, certainly not.
Again, the perfect 10 going in, and his score is 9.95. You weren't kidding about a small deduction.
Well, I guess
5/100th of a point.
I guess that means half the judges decided to deduct, the other half didn't.
Silvio Kroll of East Germany brings a 9.85 preliminary score with him. He needs a 9.95 to get the silver.
And he's certainly capable of it. He's excellent on high bar, good body line, a lot of one-arm sequences. There's a one-arm flyaway half turn.
In 1985, he received 3rd place on this event at the DTB Cup.
Very high Jaeger. He rarely ever misses that bar. Now, he does a neat dismount. Most people do backwards flipping dismounts. This is a front double with a 1.5 twist. Perfect landing, too. That was a great routine.
Silvio Kroll bringing a 9.85 preliminary score. I've just been told his final score is 9.9, so he will take home the bronze medal. The results of the horizontal bar, Romania, Hungary, and Germany, 1, 2, 3. On the men's side, pour it on. East Germany came on strong.
That's right. East Germany was really tough in the second half. They picked up 2 more gold medals on the men's side, and then Salivas of Romania picked up another gold for Romania. But I was really most impressed with the diversity of talent in this competition. We had great performances by Hungary and Romania on the horizontal bar, and the host country, West Germany, did very, very well throughout the entire competition. So I really think that in 1988, we're going to see a tough competition in the games.
You mentioned the host country. We would be remiss if we did not thank the host country. Not only were the West Germans very accommodating, but the German Gymnastics organization really met all of our needs and the needs of our crew. We had a wonderful stay here this December in West Germany. Happy holidays to all of you back in the States. Auf Wiedersehen, everyone.